What up, what up, what up? What's up, everyone? Adrian Morrison here. I want to welcome you to the Profit Power Hour. I'm excited to have you here. We have a great training ready for you this week. I'm going to turn my camera on real quick. I know that many of you have been asking for this. We've got tons of people in the group, tons of people in support asking when part 3 is going to happen. So if you have been on the past couple webinars, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, if you're brand new, I'm gonna preface it real quick. First things first, this is the Profit Power Hour. If you're new, we do these every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. EST is when we stream. Sometimes, like today, you can see it's daylight behind me. We're pre-recording because we have a guest on that was only available early in the day, but this is brand spanking new. And then a lot of times we're just streaming live and answering questions and whatnot. Either way, this is a live stream happening right now. And what we do is we just get on and we teach every week. You know, we want you to be able to take the money that you have, right, and use it to actually run your business. We want you to be able to, you know, have that money to test ads, be it on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or wherever. And a lot of people, what happens is they start e-commerce or any, you know, online business, and they end up getting this, you know, shiny object syndrome where they're buying this course and this course. They see this guru with the Lambo and this guru with the McLaren and this guru with, you know, a mansion selling a course, and they just buy it, and then they don't do shit. They just buy a bunch of damn courses, and they legitimately waste all of their money and don't even consume or take action. It's not that the courses are bad, okay? There's tons of great courses. It's just that you don't need to buy every course. So I created this webinar series in 2014 when I used to sell a course. So when you got my course, you didn't have to buy anything else. It was my way to continuously educate you without trying to trick you into buying version 2 and version 3 and version 4. It's just, you know, I want you to get that knowledge. I want you to stay ahead of the curve. I want you to pay very close attention each and every week, stay motivated, and take action, right? Because we're not selling anything here. These are just free meat and potatoes trainings. And I'm bringing on, you know, one of the top guys in the world to teach you stuff this week, and I have the past previous weeks, from a company called ShineOn. And ShineOn is a US-based company with US products that ship anywhere in the world. And it's a gifting company. So they do LED signs and custom-made jewelry. I'm friends with the CEO who is on here tonight, Michael Chris, and the founder, Eric Tots. They're great friends of mine. And, you know, the thing about tonight's trainer, who's the CEO of the company, is he was their top seller at one point. So not only did he sell a bunch of stuff, but he also now sees what everybody else is selling, right? So they know what is working. And Mother's Day is coming up, so everybody's gonna be buying Mother's Day gifts. And we've done this 3-part series, tonight being the 3rd part, where we teach you how to crush it on Mother's Day. Holidays are the best times to capitalize in e-commerce because people are, you know, they need to buy something. They're looking for anything to buy that could be a good gift. So if you want to get an account with ShineOn, it's free. They do have like their, you know, upgrades and stuff like that, which are very, very valuable, and I highly recommend, but they're not necessary out of the gate. You can go to profitph.com/shine and you can get a free account. I want to introduce everybody tonight to Michael. So Michael, go ahead and pop your webcam on, my friend. Thanks so much for being here. He's actually squeezing this in before he finally gets a date night away from the kiddos. So I've asked him to work a little bit extra late for your benefit, and so please tell him thank you, because he could be relaxing right now, but he's going to teach y'all some really cool stuff. Dude's a major stud, brilliant. I love learning from him, among many other people, but he's legit, so pay very close attention. I'm going to shut up because he's got a date night to get to, okay? And I'm going to share my screen with you, bro. Thanks so much for coming on here, dude. And
oh man, I love it.
I'm gonna let you take it away, dude. So let's share the screen. And if you want to just do like a very quick intro, I'm gonna share a screen right now. just a very quick intro for those that are new. Feel free to do that, but I know your time is limited. I'm making you presenter, so just go ahead and hit share screen so there's not like a weird blank screen up.
All right, working on it right now.
It should prompt you, and
okay, it says it's sharing. I got a spinning wheel here.
yeah, you know, GoToWebinar is a little antiquated. We should be switching over to Zoom, but you know, I still stay with GoToWebinar because everybody's registered here. If I switch to Zoom, everybody's going to be confused. Sometimes it just takes a second for that screen to share.
Did it work?
You still getting the spinny wheel of death?
No, it stopped. Let me try again. Here we go.
Right.
There we go. Is it working now? It says recap.
Let's go. Let's go.
All right, awesome. What's up, everybody? Adrian, thanks for the intro. I think you talked me up a little too much. But look, hey, I love being here. I love teaching. I love print on demand in the merchant community. As Adrian said, I was actually a merchant of ShineOn for a number of years before I ever worked at the company, and I was a top merchant. So I really cut my teeth here at ShineOn in the print on demand world. And then 2 years into it, sorry guys, my daughter was crying out the door here. I'm making sure she's all right. So 2 years into it, I found a really big product. I called this kind of the unicorn product. I scaled this thing to the freaking moon. I was hitting numbers I'd never seen anybody in print on demand hit before. And the owner of ShineOn called me. His name was Eric. And he's like, hey dude, you're breaking my fulfillment. And that's actually how I got to know Eric. And so I kind of did that run, and Eric invited me into the company, and somehow, some way over the last bunch of years here, I went from being a merchant and a customer of the company to the CEO and an equity holder. I don't quite know how that happened, even when I look back, but that's kind of my story. So I've got a lot of experience though selling print on demand items and products exactly like what I'm going to be teaching you here today. So what I'm holding in my hand, if you can see it, and I know I'm probably smaller on the screen here, but this is print on demand jewelry. So you've got a really nice jewelry box, you have a piece of jewelry kind of in the middle, and then you've got this print on demand element in the background. That's this, what we call these message cards, right? They have these greeting card style, sentimental, emotional phrases on them, right? This one says, to my bonus daughter, I didn't give you the gift of life, life gave me the gift of you. For all the prayers I ever prayed, you were truly the answer. It's like kind of sweet, it's emotional, pulls at the heartstrings. That's the idea, right? So when I get into the training today, as Adrian said, this is part 3. In part 1, I kind of explain what print on demand is. I explain the unique viral type products that ShineOn has that nobody else in the market has. And I talk about what winning products look like. Then in part 2, I got deep into research. So I showed you how to go out into the marketplace and find phrases that are going to resonate. And I'm going to recap that very briefly on the screen here. So I'm going to recap part 2, and then I'm going to get into today's session, part 3, where I'm actually going to show you how to take phrases from your product research and then create your own phrases with potential to sell. So if you look at the screen here, it says recap. The thing to know about these kinds of products and print on demand in general is that it's the phrase on the product that makes up 90% of it, right? It's the phrase that makes 90% of a winning product. This is true for virtually every print on demand item, whether it's a mug, a t-shirt, or in our case, jewelry. Now, the type of phrases that work are a little bit different on each of the products, but the big takeaway right now is that the phrase is 90% of a winning product, right? It's very important to remember that. You're gonna think it's the design or something like that, and I'm telling you right now, more often than not, depending on the product, it is the phrase that's driving that product forward, that's resonating with an audience, and that's getting people to buy. So at ShineOn, we have a few different sayings in the community to help us remember this. One saying is, if they cry, they'll buy. If they cry, they'll buy. And the idea here is if you can find a phrase that moves somebody emotionally to tears, in this case, they're going to be more likely to buy the product. The next saying we have is, it's the phrase that pays. It's the phrase that pays. Again, it's just to remind you how important the phrase is. And then finally, we say, if they feel it's real. They feel it's real. And the idea here is we want you to remember it's about creating an emotional experience for the gift giver and the gift receiver. And if you can do that well, they'll be more likely to buy your product. So if you can move this right? See my little heart icon here? If you can move this, if you can move somebody emotionally, you're going to have greater potential of making money. Nothing's guaranteed, but that's how you do this. Any emotion is fair game, right? So you can make somebody feel sad by remembering, maybe a lost loved one. We have necklaces that are crosses. We have necklaces that are these graphic dog tags where a lot of times people upload an image of like a deceased loved one, and then they'll engrave their name and their lifespan on the back, right? And the idea is you're moving somebody to remember their lost loved one, right? To get back in touch with their feelings for that person. You can make somebody happy cry. Like we see this a lot of times in the daughter niche. Like, so you have a product that's to my daughter. It's got some kind of phrase that maybe only a parent would really resonate with if they have a daughter, and you can move somebody to tears that way by remembering how much they love their daughter and how important their daughter is. You can make somebody laugh. You see this a lot of times on t-shirts and mugs, but t-shirts especially. These are t-shirts with offensive phrases or something like that. Anger is another one you see on t-shirts a lot of times. You're provoking people to anger. Right now, the political climate is just supercharged, and these political phrases are doing well right now on t-shirts. And then love is another one. This is my favorite niche, is this kind of love niche, especially in the jewelry space, because it works in so many ways. You can do to my wife, to my daughter, or because it's Mother's Day here in 3 or 4 weeks, you can do to my mom type products. And jewelry for Mother's Day is an incredible product to be selling. So if you're listening to this, you should thank the freaking universe, because you're here at the right time in the right place right before a holiday where people are going to be buying jewelry. All right, let's go into some quick examples of the type of phrases that we see do really well. I'm going to move through these really fast because I covered them in part 2. Over on the left-hand side of the screen, you've got a screenshot from one of my favorite spy tools that shows you this particular product had a lot of social proof, meaning that this product was likely selling. Nothing's guaranteed, right? But typically you don't get this kind of social proof racked up on an ad unless somebody's spending money on it, right? And here is what the phrase says. It says, when we get to the end of our lives together, the house we had, the cars we drove, the things we possessed won't matter. What will matter is I had you and you had me. Even though this is canvas, you could see this easily working on jewelry. What if it just said, to my wife, when we get to the ends of our lives together, car we have, the things we drove, blah, 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 love your husband at the end. It works easy, right? Next, you've got this graphic dog tag of a pet, right? So you have a pet image on one side, and then you have a sentimental or emotional phrase on the other side. You can easily do this with ShineOn products. Here's one where it's a bracelet, and it's a little different angle, but again, lots of social proof on this. It says, the bracelet itself says, remember who the F you are. And then the phrase says, when the days are hard, don't let them win. Breathe and remember who the F you are. And you can easily see that working on one of these too. We have a product we just released, which is it's like a crown that like a queen would wear. And you could easily make a phrase that says, to my daughter, when the days get hard, don't let them win. Remember who the F you are, right? Kind of saying like, hey, you're royalty, right? Or there's more power in you than even you believe. Like that's what you could be conveying in one of these simple little products. And you can see why somebody would want to buy that and gift that to their daughter, right? It's a meaningful, powerful experience. Next, you've got this to my grandson one. I actually think this is probably a ShineOn product. This is a graphic on one side of the dog tag. And it says, again, it's that phrase you need to listen to my grandson, I can't promise I'll be here for the rest of your life, but I can promise that I'll love you for the rest of mine. Wherever your journey in life may take you, always remember, always be brave and strong. Believe in your heart that you are smart and capable of achieving anything your heart desires. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, always remember whose grandson you are, right? So it's kind of emotional. You can see why a grandpa or a grandma would buy this for their grandson. Okay. And then finally, I'll do this one very quickly. This is my favorite niche, the to my mom, the love niche, right? To my mom. And remember, Mother's Day here is 3 or 4 weeks away. So I hope your ears are perking up. To my mom, to the world, you are just a mother, but to me, you are the world. You were my first home, the first place I ever loved. There are not enough words to describe how important you are in my life. I'm grateful for everything you've taught me. You're the best mom in the world. I love you forever. Okay, look, all of this is well and great, right? You've got these phrases, and if you put these phrases on products like this, right, that's how you kind of win in this print on demand game. But your next question is probably like, where do I find these phrases? And then after I find the phrases, what do I do with them? Because you don't want to just carbon copy stuff, right? So I'm going to answer that in two parts. I'm going to show you where you can go find these phrases now, right? And then I'm going to show you how you can take these phrases that you find, this gold that you find on these other products, and then kind of spin them into your own phrases that you can put on your own products and try to sell. So how do you find these winning phrases? Well, there's a bunch of places you can go. There's Pinterest, just functions just like a search engine. You can type "to my wife" quote, "to my daughter" quote, "to my mom" phrase. You can type anything like that. "To my mom" open letter, "to my mom" poem. You can type anything like that. You're going to get a bunch of results back. And you have to scan through the results. I'll show you how to do that in a second. You have Google Shopping. You can go to Hallmark. Any of these places you go, be careful not to like straight up carbon copy somebody else's words. That is potentially illegal. You don't want to steal words from a song, for example, that are trademarked. You got to be careful about all that. That's why this next step I'm going to show you, where you spin them into your own words, is going to be very important. You stick around for that. You can go to Amazon, Google Trends, Etsy. You can go to Google Images, eBay, Facebook, AdSpy, or Shopify. There's a way you can actually search other Shopify stores and kind of spy on their print-on-demand products. I cover all of this in part 2 of my training. So if you want to get some over-the-shoulder examples of how you do this research, go back and watch phase 2. What am I trying to say? Part 2 of the training. When you're doing the training, so like here's Pinterest. If you type "to my daughter" and you get all these search results back, what you're looking for in the search results, because you're just going to get overwhelmed with how many results come back, you're looking for phrases that repeat. Because if they repeat, that tells you that they were resonating enough that people were like sharing them multiple times or putting them on different graphics. And that usually is signal in the noise. That tells you that for whatever reason, people liked it, right? And you should be zooming in on that and trying to kind of figure out what is it in that phrase that made it special, right? Because you're going to need that for this next step. In last week's part 2, I talk about how to do this on Etsy, and I have some over-the-shoulder demonstration of that. And I also show you how to do it with eBay. So now that you know a phrase is 90% of a winning product, now that you know that Mother's Day is around the corner, and jewelry in particular is one of the top selling Mother's Day gifts in the United States, right? And you know where to go do your product research to find phrases that are moving people and resonating with an audience right now. In this section, in part 3 here, I'm going to show you how to take these phrases that you're finding and then kind of spin them and put your own flavor on them so that you can present something in the marketplace that's unique and original to you, but still has that resonant power of the original one, right? That's where we're at right now. I'm going to keep this very practical, very easy for you to implement. Right? So here we go. How to write winning phrases. So the first thing to keep in mind is that in all of your phrase research, all your product research, you need to be building what I call a phrase bank. Phrase bank. Now what you see here is a screenshot of a Trello board that I kept for years. And what I did in this Trello board was every time I came upon a phrase in my phrase research, I'd break the phrase down into its parts, and I'd put those parts or those phrase fragments into my phrase bank. And then I'd be sitting on literal gold, right? Every time I wanted to create a new product, I'd come to my phrase bank, I'd look at all the product research I'd done in the past, and I could basically mix and match different parts of phrases to build new unique phrases nobody had ever seen before. I did this using a tool called Trello. It's a free tool that you could use as well, but you don't have to use Trello. I've seen people use Google Sheets with this. I've seen people use 3x5 note cards. You can use a Google Doc if you want. There's a bunch of different ways to skin the cat here, right? So use whatever you're comfortable with, but you do need a phrase bank. That's important, right? That's important. You need a phrase bank, and this is where all of your phrase research goes. Now, what you have to do is every time you're doing phrase research and you come across a phrase that you think is resonating with an audience, you have to break that phrase down into its fragments. So the way that might look is pretend what you see on the screen here, pretend this is a phrase, right? All these little green lines. I don't have the words on here because I don't want you to get confused by the words right now. Just pretend each of these green lines is a line in a phrase, right? What you're going to do is you're going to read the phrase and you're going to try to identify each parts of the phrase that kind of stand on their own, right? The meaning they're a complete thought in and of themselves, and they don't have to be connected to anything else in the phrase. I'll show you a very real example of that in just a moment. right now, conceptually, that's what you're looking for. Then what you're going to do is you're going to break your phrase down into those fragments. So this might be one fragment, this might be another fragment, and this might be a third fragment, right? So this one phrase has 3 fragments, 3 complete thoughts, right? That's the idea. So here's a real life breakdown of what that looks like. So I've got this blanket over here on the left. I'm going to read the phrase real quick. It says, to my wife, never forget that I love you. I wish I could turn back the clock so I would find you sooner and love you longer. If I could give you one thing in life, I would give you the ability to see yourself through my eyes. Only then would you realize how special you are to me. I loved you then, I love you still, always have, always will. Right? So now let's break this thing down into its fragments. And remember, each fragment goes into your phrase bank on its own, right? It's going to stand on its own. So the first one, never forget that I love you. That works as its own complete thought. You can put that in a bunch of different phrases and it will work, right? You can almost like a Jenga puzzle, right? You can slide it in or swap it out in a bunch of other phrases and it works. Here's another one. I wish I could turn back the clock so I'd find you sooner and love you longer. If I could give you one thing in life, I would give you the ability to see yourself through my eyes. Only then would you realize how special you are to me. I loved you then, I love you still, always have, always will. That is 4 unique phrase fragments from this one big phrase, right? And all 4 of these you take to the bank, baby. So each of those goes in your phrase bank as its own entry, right? See what I'm doing here? I'm reading the phrase, breaking it up into its phrase fragments, and all those phrase fragments are going into my phrase bank because I'm going to use them later. It's literal gold that I get to use later, not literal, figurative. It's figurative gold that you get to use later. So here are 2 methods you can use to create your own phrases. Now, before we get into the methods, there's one caution I got to throw out there. All the time, I've trained thousands of people at this point. Every now and then I run into somebody that's like, they think they're a poet, or maybe they write short stories on the side or something like that, and they basically just think they're good, right? They don't need to do the research. They're going to use their own imagination and life experience, and they're going to write their own phrases. To date, and I think I can say this like without exaggeration, to date, I don't think I've ever seen one of those people succeed in print on demand. That's not to say it's impossible or anything like that. I don't recall anybody that had that approach actually succeeding. So I don't mean this, I mean this in love. I'm not trying to be mean, but I do want to be direct with you. You're not a songwriter, you're not a poet, you're not an author. Please don't write your own original, unique phrases, right? If you want to freaking phrases, that's fine. I'm going to teach you that in a second. If you want to phrase flip phrases, that's fine. I'll teach you that in a second. But until you develop an ear for what's actually working in your niche and you've actually sold products, don't go into this trying to write your own phrases. You're just asking for a world of pain. So now that I've got that caution out of the way, and I hope you hear that my heart's in love here. I'm trying to save you time and help you here be successful as you build your print on demand business. Now that we have that out of the way, let's get into the 2 methods you can use to take your phrase fragments and create your own unique phrases that nobody's ever seen before, but still have that resonant power that made the original phrase work. So method 1 is called frankenphrasing. So what you do is you have, let's pretend for a moment I've got 4 whole phrases here. So I've got this phrase up in the top left, and then the top right, bottom left, bottom right. Pretend those are 4 separate phrases, not fragments, but 4 separate complete phrases, right? And each of those phrases are made up of their own fragments. I'm just going to show you how all this comes together. I'm going to take like a fragment from this phrase, and then I'm going to take a fragment from this phrase, and then I'm going to take a fragment from this phrase, and then I'm going to take one from this phrase, and I'm going to bring them all together, and I'm going to create one new unique phrase nobody's ever seen before. See how that worked? I call this frankenphrasing, because you're basically taking fragments from a bunch of different phrases and you're assembling them together into this new living thing, these living words that nobody's ever seen, heard, or experienced before, right? But if you do it correctly, right, and you have kind of an ear for what sounds and feels good, right, and you know how to create emotional resonance, right, and you're testing this on yourself, right, and you're seeing how it lands when you put all these words together. If you do this right, you can create some very powerful phrases here. And the real beauty of this is new, unique phrases that like nobody's ever seen before, but land and have emotional impact. They can do exceptionally well because you'll have no competition, right? That's the beauty of frankenphrasing and doing this like I teach. So method number 2 is called phrase flipping. So what I just showed you is Franken phrasing, where you take a bunch of different fragments and you assemble them together in a new way. Method number 2 is phrase flipping. So with phrase flipping, the way I used to teach this was you take your original fragment, right? This will work with a fragment or a phrase. If you're just starting out, I'd do this one fragment at a time because fragments are smaller and they're a little easier to work with. But what you do is you take your fragment and you have your original, and all you're going to do is you're going to try to rewrite the original, but in your own words, right? That's all you're trying to do. Rewrite it in your own words. That's it. And as you do the rewrite, you want to try to preserve the original essence of the original phrase fragment. So whatever worked in the original phrase fragment, you want to try to keep that in the rewrite, but you want to do it in your own words. That's the idea here. And almost like the telephone game, after you rewrite it once, you're going to rewrite it again. We call those flips, right? So you flip it once, then you flip it again, right? And you can do this as many times as you want, but the idea is by the 3rd, 4th, 5th flip, maybe the 9th or the 10th flip, you've got something that is new, unique, still has the essence and the power of the original, but you'd never know it came from the original because it's gone through this metamorphosis as you flip the phrase over and over again. So the way I used to teach this was you would do all the rewriting here. But today in 2025, we have this thing called ChatGPT. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that, but ChatGPT, it's free. Anybody can access it. Just go to Google, type ChatGPT. You can actually put phrases into ChatGPT and have ChatGPT do the rewrite on the phrase. So the way that would look is pretend you got a phrase over here on the left and you just dump it into ChatGPT and you're basically like, hey, can you just rewrite this thing for me, or can you paraphrase this for me? Paraphrase being the key word here. And ChatGPT will rewrite the whole thing for you in 5 seconds. It's absolutely unbelievable. What's more is you can ask ChatGPT to do all kinds of things to the phrase. You can say, hey, can you make it rhyme? So maybe the original phrase doesn't rhyme and you want to make it rhyme, right? That can be an easy way to elevate a phrase and make it land in a way that it hasn't yet. You can have ChatGPT try to make it shorter, but without losing any of the punch, right? So then you can go from something that's 12 lines to maybe 8, and maybe it just lands with more impact that way. You can also ask ChatGPT to just give you a bunch of variations, and then you can pick from the best variation from what ChatGPT gives you. There's 10 million things you can do with ChatGPT, and it will aid you in doing phrase flipping. So here's a real life example of a phrase that I did this with. Now, full disclaimer here, I did this probably 18 months ago, maybe even more, with a very old version of ChatGPT. It was like GPT 3.5 or something like that. I mean, it was a long time ago when I did this. And the new models that are out today are even better than when I did this. And when I revealed to you the phrase, the result from ChatGPT that I got, you're still going to be blown away by it because it was so freaking good. And the ones we have today are even better. I mean, you are just sitting on an incredible opportunity now with the tools we have. It's really unbelievable. So I'm going to read this phrase on the left so that you can hear the original. Then I'm going to show you what I flipped it into. We'll read that too. So here's the original phrase on the left. I think I got this off of Pinterest or something like that. So it says, I've only been with you for just a little while. I can't speak the words I love you, so I say them with a smile. When you hold me close, your love is what I feel. Although I can't hold you back, my love for you is real. When you talk or sing to me, your love is what I hear. And when I coo, what I'm saying is, I love you, mommy dear, right? It's powerful. You can totally see why somebody would buy this for an expecting mother. That's an incredible gift, especially for Mother's Day. You can totally see why somebody would buy that. So I take that, I dump it into ChatGPT. I'm like, hey, can you paraphrase this? Here's what ChatGPT came back with. So it says, I've not been here long, but I've got something to say. I can't say I love you out loud, so I smile in my own way. When you hug me tight, I feel your love warm and true. I just can't hug back yet, but I love you through and through. When you talk or sing, it's your love I hear coming through. And when I make little coos, I'm saying, mommy, I love you too. Dude, tell me that's not amazing, man. Tell me that is not amazing. I mean, you could totally see, like, just imagine you're a grandpa or a grandma and you just found out that your daughter's pregnant, right? And you're looking for a gift to give her, and Mother's Day is coming up, and she hasn't had the kid yet. She's, expecting. If you saw this on the right gift at the right time, I just imagine the heartstrings you're going to pull. I mean, that is the type of person that becomes a buyer of a print-on-demand product, right? And that is the power of doing this phrase flipping and writing phrases the way I'm teaching you to do. That is super powerful. So now I'm going to blow out all your minds here, because there is kind of a third way you can kind of mingle these methods together. You can even phrase flip a Frankenphrase. Now, I know that probably just confused a bunch of you, especially if some of these concepts are new. I'll break it down real quick. You can Frankenphrase a phrase, right? So you take fragments from a bunch of different phrases, you Frankenphrase something together, and you're like, man, that's really good. Well, then you can take that, dump that into ChatGPT and ask it to paraphrase it, and now you've got something that's truly unique, original, and different, even from the original wordings, from the original phrase fragments, right? So you can even phrase flip a Frankenphrase. If that confused you, go back, watch this over again, right? But there's a lot of different methods here to create new, unique phrases that still have emotional power and can create buyers, right? So one note here, one big takeaway for everybody watching this: the quality of your phrases will equal the quality of your phrase research. So when you're doing your phrase research, and I covered that in part 2 of the training, make sure you go back and watch that. Go deep with your phrase research. Like, don't skimp on that. Don't take the easy way out, right? Do good in-depth phrase research, because the phrase is 90% of the product, right? The phrase is 90% of the product. And your ability to move a lot of units is likely going to come down to how well your phrase resonates with the audience. And the best way to get good phrases is to do really good phrase research. So I'm going to do a very quick recap, and then we're going to move to wrap this up. Adrian, if you're around. So recap: the phrase is 90% of a winning product. If they cry, they'll buy. You need to make sure you're building a phrase bank, and then use Frankenphrasing or phrase flipping to build unique phrases. Again, if you're just coming in for part 3, highly encourage you to go back and watch part 1 and part 2. But this is how many of our merchants this year are going to be having some really great Mother's Day. It comes from just putting these fundamentals into practice. All right, that is the training. I hope all of you really enjoyed this. I hope you took a lot of notes. Really powerful stuff here, and I think it'll take you a long way. Adrian, you still with us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sorry, I was trying to unmute.
No problem, man.
Thanks so much for this training, man. I love the Frankenphrasing and phrase flipping. It's like y'all always come up with the most unique stuff. It's really cool.
We try.
And look, y'all, the idea here is to use this training. It's legitimately to take what you just learned and implement it like immediately, because Mother's Day is coming up, right? And so this training will not be good after Mother's Day until next Mother's Day. If you're now, you can take pieces of this, obviously, and you can implement it to other holidays, of course. I'm trying to share my screen now too. But take action with this training.
Look, I tried to make this super practical, and this is course level material. I mean, for real, I've had people pay me to teach them this same stuff I just taught all of you for free. So don't take it for granted. This is super easy to implement. I made it super practical. I really broke it down into its fundamentals, and I gave you the step-by-step process to do the research, figure out what's working in the marketplace, and then rewrite your own stuff to help put you on a path where you can potentially, hopefully, build a successful business out of it. So please, don't sleep on this. Take action. Take action.
Let's go. Look, this isn't BS information that you're being sold. This is just free training. So, I would love for ShineOn to see that my students don't take their time and their services for granted. I'd love to see y'all crush it. I'd love for them to see what action takers that you are. And I'd love for you, if you're new, to see if implementing this can get you your first sale, right? If you're brand new, like it could be that aha moment. So just take this training, run with it. It'll be up on YouTube. shortly. It'll be up, within the next 24 hours at youtube.com/Adrian Morrison. So you can always go check it out there on the YouTube channel. So you'll see it, youtube.com/Adrian Morrison. You can watch the replays there. I am going to go ahead and let you go, Michael. Thanks so much for doing this. Enjoy your date night. You deserve it. I know that you bust your butt. So enjoy relaxing and taking some time off from the kiddos. You're a great dad. You're a great partner and friend. And I really appreciate you coming on here tonight to help my students for, absolutely no reason other than you just want to help people succeed with ShineOn and e-commerce in general. So thanks, dude. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, likewise. I love coming on here, and I hope to see you all in the community and on our leaderboards here at ShineOn. All right, everybody, take care. Happy selling. Catch you next time.
Let's
Laters.
go. See y'all.